what does it mean to be a noble in D&D, and how can you play or understand this background? Like, oh yeah, I'm from a noble family, but I've got like 5 brothers and 2 sisters, and I'm the youngest. In preparation for the game I'll be running tomorrow night, I thought I would spend some time for tonight's D&Daily and talk a little bit about nobles in D&D. And here's where I'm coming from in regards to nobles. Essentially, I think there's 2 nobles that need to be addressed, and basically 2 ways the noble can be approached. So what does that mean? Let's get right into it. The 2 nobles that need to be addressed are the noble as a character and the noble as an NPC. That is to say, you might have an NPC that you're running that happens to be a noble. Whereas if you're a character, if you're a player, and you have taken the noble background, that's another version of a noble that's going to enter into games. And so we as DMs need to keep this in mind, and how does that come into play in the game? Now, what I've been thinking about tonight, because I have an NPC that I need to run for tomorrow night that is a noble, and I also have a player that is bringing in a character that's got some noble background, and so I want to be ready for that. I'm also one of the characters I'm playing. In fact, the character I play in the Lost Mines game with my good friends on Thursdays now, was Wednesdays, now it's moved to Thursdays. And in that game, I am playing a noble as well for my character. Or I should say, my character has the noble background as well. So I want to think about this and hash it out. So I'm going to share these thoughts with you tonight. So you have those 2 types of nobles. Again, player character nobles, NPC nobles. Now, I think the simplest way in my mind to break them down into, like, well, how do you play a noble, or how do you approach this kind of character or this kind of NPC? And what occurred to me today is that the biggest question is, I think, how are they doing? How is their noble family faring? Is the family doing well? Are they flush? Are they poor? Are they in, dire straits? Like, has someone in the family lost the family fortune? Or on the other side, is someone in the family, like, killing it in trade or in, just through marriage, or who knows what? They're just like raising the family's name and holdings and wealth and all that. So I think that, at least for now, is how I feel like I'm going to approach nobles, because it seems to me, if I take this noble and this NPC that I'm thinking about, and I kind of find out, I ask that question of, like, well, how is that noble family doing? Like, where did they come from and how did they get there? I guess another question before I go into that a little more deeply is this: how long has the family been a noble? That might be another really good question to address. Like, for instance, did they buy their way into nobility recently? Maybe someone in their family was phenomenally successful as a merchant or as perhaps even an adventurer, and decided or found a way to buy a noble title. In fact, in Waterdeep, this happens fairly regularly. If you look at some of the canon and some of the history and lore in Waterdeep, that happens. You can buy your way into nobility. There's other examples of that as well. I love The Chain, the MCDM game. I've talked about it in the past, and they are currently in the giant city of Capital, and Matt Colville, the DM, has explicitly said there are people who buy their positions in the nobility. That's one way they might have become a noble. And another way they might have become become a noble is through inheritance. Like, they just were born into it. I would think that the first kind, the nobles that bought their way into it, are going to have a way different personality than those that have inherited it. Someone who's inherited a position, maybe they've been, their family has been noble for generations, they might have a certain level of entitlement. They might act as if everyone else is beneath them still, and because of that's how they were raised. Whereas maybe the person who's new to nobility, or maybe only the second generation of a noble family, they might still have a sense of like, you need to earn respect. You need to like work and build and grow, and that's what people will respect and why you will be respected as a noble. So that's a really fascinating question to ask. Back to the first question I kind of want to pose again, I think this really helps you hone in on who this individual is in this moment, where is the family at? Are they flush? Or are they in straits? Are they doing really well? Are they doing really poorly? Are they, is the family on the up and coming? Or are they, like going down into the dumps? So for the noble I'm looking at running for tomorrow night, I think stability, which kind of answers this question. In other words, they're not doing real great. They're not doing real bad. They're actually just very comfortable. They're nice and stable. I think that's how I will approach this noble. He's comfortable in his position. He has a sense of pride and dignity and ownership and entitlement, but maybe he's not necessarily snobbish. He's not necessarily that overly entitled, like looking down his nose at everyone. However, I think he's going to have that kind of like that air of importance, of, again, like confidence. And I feel like for this particular character, I want some of that to be born of the fact that his family is stable. His family has a strong foundation. Maybe they've been nobility for some generations, and their holdings are secure, and their industry, whatever that is secure. And for these reasons, he's got a sense of like, everything's all right, and I'm on top of the world. That's not going to be his accent or the way he speaks at all, but that's me, Gregory, just expressing myself as this is where he's at. Like, he's got it in control. And so that's I feel like for my character, I'll talk about him for just a moment to give you a little bit more in-depth understanding of how I think of nobles in the D&D realms. He's in a different position. He, because of his race, has something driving him to be an adventurer. So he comes from a noble family that's well connected, well established, and I felt just successful. Like, they're doing fine. So he's not going out into the world to like save the family name from ruin because someone lost, like his father or his grandfather or somebody, or aunt or mother or somebody like has tarnished the family name or something like this. He's going out into the world for his own quest to understand himself and what the story is, like how he ended up this way. And so, there's so many wonderful ways that you can approach the noble. And I think that if you ask I guess I was only going to start with one question, but now it seems like these couple of questions might really help out. Like, how's the family doing? How long has the family been established? And, then what is this person, where do they fit within the noble family, I guess? Are they at the head of the family, or are they trying to save the family, or are they just like a minor in the family? Like, they don't even matter. Like, oh yeah, I'm from a noble family, but I've got like 5 brothers and 2 sisters, and I'm the youngest, or something like that. That will flavor, how this noble acts, reacts, and how much they may have available to them as far as funding and so forth. Like, if you're last in line, you might not have all that much access to the family fortune. So nobles I think, are a ton of fun, and I will tell you tomorrow how this noble works out for the party. We'll see how that goes in the game tomorrow night. Actually, I won't tell you tomorrow because tomorrow night I'll be running the game. We'll come back to this later this week sometime. I will see you at a table someday, and until then, hey, remember, it's your game. Play your way. No bloopers tonight.